Well, it's been about 4 months since I quit my job to go full-time as a craftivist. And during these last few months, you may have noticed I stepped away from YouTube a little bit, and that was so that I could focus a lot of my energy and my attention on being present in my physical community. I was spending so much time online, like probably many of you, that I just felt that I wasn't making those in-person connections, those real world connections to my community. And honestly, it just felt a little isolating. So with the new year coming and the holidays done, I am so ready to reconnect with my online community, with all of you, and do more of my favorite type of long form content, vlogs, also lives. Y'all, I miss lives. But I wanted to, in today's video, just give you a quick update, a little life update on what's been happening over the last few months. And also, we're gonna do kind of a twofer. So I'm working on a project right now and I need fabric. And as a sustainable maker, just going to a store and buying fabric isn't the way I do things. Oh no, we need to make it a little more complicated, but also way better for the environment. So I'm gonna show you as well the project that I'm working on and what I need to finish this project. And then we're gonna take a little field trip to the thrift store and see if I can find what I'm looking for there. But first, what's been going on with me? So as a recap, for those of you that are new here, I left my career, my job that I actually loved, the team that I loved. I had been at my company for almost 10 years and I walked away so that I could, like I said, be more involved in my community. And how that actually has manifested is I have made in-person friends. Now, I know for a lot of you making friends is probably like no big deal, but as a neurodivergent middle-aged woman, making friends can be super challenging. Also making genuine friends, those connections. So I have started attending a weekly little get-together with some fellow makers. And shout out to Kelly, who started the Stitch and Bitch series over at the Scale House Market here in Spokane. It's every Wednesday from 11 to 1. And so if you're in the Spokane area and you're looking for some like-minded folks to, sit around and craft for a couple hours and just really connect, I highly recommend this group. I don't go every week because I can't, but I do make it when I can, and it has made a huge difference in my life for sure. Also, I've been doing a lot more work with Spokane Zero Waste. So a couple of the nonprofits that I work with, I've really tried to put more of my energy and my time into these organizations. So one of them, as I mentioned, Spokane Zero Waste. I was already working with Spokane Zero Waste before I left my job. I was doing some volunteer work with them when we would go out into the communities. When we would go out into the community and do Mend It cafes. It is a program that is part of Spokane Zero Waste where we offer the service for free. We have volunteer menders who go to different locations and are there for a few hours fixing up folks' clothes so they don't end up in the landfill. And it is an amazing part of our program. But the program that I am most involved in is the education program. So this is a program that I have really been spending time building out. My background is in education. And so this really just aligns with everything that I'm super passionate about. So I've been creating courses and process documentation. I've been teaching sewing courses. I've been recruiting new teachers. There are so many parts and pieces that go to running an education department of an organization. So that's been super fulfilling as well. And as we go into the new year, we're offering a ton of new classes and again, recruiting some additional teachers, which has been, it feels good. Also, another one of the nonprofits that I work with, Art Salvage, they're a creative reuse center here in Spokane. Kind of think of it as a crafty thrift store. That's a great way to think about it. But I have loved this shop. I shop there all the time for supplies anyway. I started volunteering there. My husband has since started volunteering there, which is awesome. So we have this full connection. And then also recently I was voted onto the board. So I am officially a board member of my very first nonprofit. And did I see that coming? in my 2025 bingo card. I did not. However, I am so excited as we go into the new year on what's going to happen with that organization as well. So just being able to spend time actually face to face in the community, volunteering, helping these nonprofits be impactful and creating community. These were all of these goals that I had when I left my job. And I feel as we're at the end of the year, and I know a lot of times this is when folks get sentimental, and I am going to be a little sentimental. It was the best decision I feel like I could have made. And was it scary? Heck yes. And are we still trying to figure things out as we go into the new year? I mean, we still have bills to pay. I am not independently wealthy. I just want to clarify. Honestly, we skimped and saved and worked our butt off for years and years and years so that I could get to this point. So it is something I'm incredibly proud of. I feel like I am making a difference. My mental health has never been better. So that is an update on what's been going on with me. And now let me show you the project I'm working on. I have been working on a ton of other projects, but we're not going to go backwards, folks. We're going to go forwards, take a look at a current project. And like I said, we're going to head to the thrift store and see if I can find what I need to finish this project. So this is our current project, kind of laid out in what I'm envisioning. So it started off, all of these blocks that are up here, these were just strips. They were pre-cut strips of these really great fabrics in the browns and oranges and those earthy tones that I really am drawn to. And there was a whole pack of them that I got at Art Salvage for 25 cents. 25 cents, y'all. And I think there were like, I don't know, maybe there were like 8 or 12 strips, but there was enough that I was able to just create these random blocks. I didn't really plan it out. I just sewed them together, cut them, sewed them again, just to get I wanted a random pattern for the top. And as I started putting these blocks together, I'm like, well, what can I make with this? And, I don't need another tote bag. And I didn't want to make a pillow cover, but I wanted to make a wearable piece. So this is what I am envisioning. This little rectangle that's right up here, this is going to be the bodice. So we're actually going to make a sleeveless kind of top. That's what I want to create. It's something that I can wear over a turtleneck because it is like 28 is the high today. I can wear it over a turtleneck, but then when we get to summer, I can also wear it without anything underneath it with jeans. So that's my vision. Down here, we have a sheet that I thrifted, and I've used this sheet many times. So there's not too much left of it. I wish I had more, but this again is going to be the bodice. We do need more to go around. So this is not going to be enough to go all the way around. So I need to find a sheet that has tones of this. And I say sheet because that's usually what is easiest to work with, that all kind of goes together. Luckily with patchwork, as long as you have the coordinating patterns and prints, it should be fine. So I need to find something big enough to get enough fabric for the back of this, and then also for the lining. So that's kind of the vision. This is going to be the peplum down here. It could have been a dress if I had enough of this, but I think that I'm just going for a top right now. Let's just make it simple. And then the last thing that I want to do for the straps is kind of make a wider strap, and then again, depending on how things work out, maybe with some ruffle detail. We'll see. But anyway, this is where we are. So we're heading to the thrift store. We're going to look for either sheet, any sort of linens, maybe garments as well, because if I can find a garment or a few different garments that match this color palette, then we could use those. So fingers crossed. Bird. All right, well, I just wrapped up and in the car, because it is so cold, I think it's maybe 28 degrees right now, bone chilling cold, but I had great success. I love going into this thrift store, Global Neighborhood Thrift. Their programs support refugees in our community. So I had great success and can't wait to dive into my project. It is gonna be a bit though, because I do need to wash all of the things I got before I use them, but yeah. All right, so I've had a chance to wash and dry all the things I picked up at the thrift shop, and let me show you what I found. So you may have noticed in the video clip before this, I went right to the linens and the bedding. That is such a great place to find fabrics that you can use for upcycling, and I find a lot of great items like what I found yesterday. So a couple of things that I picked up that I'm not using for this project, but I couldn't leave them behind, are some towels. I haven't worked with towels in the past to make clothing, but I've definitely saved some of the inspo items on my Pinterest board. So we have this beautiful towel, like these are totally my colors right here. And I think this is like a bath towel. So there is a lot of there's a lot of fabric here that I can use. This will be more of a spring summer project, but for, I think the towels were $2.50. I couldn't leave this behind. And then another towel that I picked up, this is just a little kitchen towel, but the little mushy is little mushrooms. I mean, I couldn't resist. And it does have fall vibes. Obviously, it's got pumpkins and leaves on it, but I think in the summer it'll still be freaking cute. And again, it was $2.50. Another great tip for you, and I think I mentioned this, sheets. My friends, 100% cotton sheets. You can get so much yardage. And for me in particular, when I'm working on a new pattern, when I'm drafting patterns, I, try to do a sample or a toile. But if I don't have a sheet, I typically just use the good fabric, and there's just danger in that because it may not turn out the way you want it to. So anyway, finding sheets is a great idea. So both of these sheets I think are queen size, 100% cotton. One of them is solid white and the other one is like a white on white stripe. But these, I mean, this is like at least 3 yards a piece, and they only charge $3 for their sheets there. So I got both of these that I'll be able to use probably for the lining of the top, a nice little cotton lining. And that's for white, especially when I'm looking for a white lining, these are great. And then 2 other items that I picked up that I actually am going to use specifically for this project. So I got these 2 pillowcases. 100% cotton. Again, everything I got was 100% cotton, but these great stripes, it's like the gray and white. And I think that that is just going to coordinate so well with this whole look. And then I did get another sheet. This sheet is like a vintage sheet. It has a very, what do you call it? Light brown stripe diagonally. And then it also has these really dusty pink flowers that are throughout. So it's not in your face print, but it is absolutely coordinating with this. So we'll see what we do with it. Now that we have enough fabric, the complicated part is trying to figure out what I want to make. So I'm not using a pattern for this one. I'm just going to do a self-drafted top because I have an idea of what I want to make, but I do want to make it as simple as possible. So now that we have some fabric and we have made our little quilted panels right here, this is where we can get creative and kind of figure out what we want to do. And one thing I hear from my sewing students all the time is how intimidating clothing construction. I totally get that. That is very valid. So with this particular project, I'm not using a pattern, as I mentioned. If you think about it this way though, we're just gonna be using our rectangles. This is a rectangle top. That is it. Super simple. I want this to be loose enough that I don't need to add a zipper. I want this to be loose enough that I don't need to add darts. We will hide all of our seams, finish all of our seams, and make sure that they are nice and solid, right? Again, we want to create a solid piece. how she is looking so far. Actually, the top is longer than I had anticipated. We still are going to take in the seam allowance from the top and the bottom, and I need to square this off a little bit. So we'll lose a little bit of that length, but for me, I like to wear a really high-rise pant, and I'm always looking for kind of cropped items. So I still am undecided if I'm going to add the peplum or not. It may not actually need it. The next thing that I need to decide is this back piece here. So I can just add, so I still have this panel left over from the pillowcase, and I could just add this here, right? Stitch it to both sides, and then have like a very light weight pull over, like a pullover, like cami style, which, you know, could work, but it's going to be a little loose, and, you know, it's something that I don't know. I haven't quite decided. I could also, some other options that are going through my head, I could create a little panel right here and then do buttons, which I think would be super cute. Can never go wrong with a little button back top. If I was going to do the peplum, then the button is completely out. But since I'm considering not doing a peplum, yeah, we can just easily put in a little panel here. And then also, if you remember, we're going to line this whole piece, and then I'm going to add 2 straps here to the top. So that is where I am. So the next thing I need to do is square off the bottom, and then I'm going to add the lining. And I think, again, I have that white cotton, but I also have this, which is not going to be visible. It's just for me, but I don't anticipate using this as a sample. I think this would make a really good lining. So I think I'm going to cut the lining out of this. And then I think I'm going to quilt this front panel here. And what I mean by quilting, so, you know, obviously this has already been patchwork. So these are all those patchwork scraps. But because I want to wear this in the summer, probably without a bra, I need more, you know, coverage, right? I just want to make sure that there's a little bit more coverage here. And besides putting in cups or wearing a bra underneath it, what I could do is just add some batting to the back and then just do a quilting section for this part right here, and that will give us some coverage. Also, it'll stiffen it up a little bit, which I think that I would like the shape of that. So I think that's what we're going to do, which we need to do before we add the lining. Okay, so I finished quilting the front. So you can see it's got the quilting, and I just used a really light cotton batting right here. Again, this will be enclosed in the lining. So here's the front quilted piece. And then as we go around, we're just gonna pin that in place. So then here is where that back panel shows up. And as I mentioned, you know, we could go down a little bit. We could add a button panel. We could just cut off the extra and just make it a very loose tank. So there's lots of different, you know, ways we could do this. One other thing that we may consider doing, and I'm actually considering this, we'll see. I overcomplicate everything. But what I'm thinking is we attach that here, and then this will be gathered here with elastic, which means that it'll be tight against the body, adjustable, so then we can pull it over our head, which is pretty awesome. This would be stitched together like this. So you'd have a lot of wiggle room. And again, this is all resting on the fact that I've decided not to do a peplum on this top. I think these stripes are just so adorable. So I think that might be what I do. And I'm thinking just a small piece of elastic right here. I could even just do a channel and do a bow right there to gather it. Again, overthinking. We want to simplify, but it is an option that we have. All right, now I have the lining pinned to the top. So I already have the straps on. By the way, what time is it? 3:25? I'm 25. It's taking me a really long time to figure out the straps because I'm going into this without a plan. It tends to take longer because I'm overthinking everything. So I changed the strap design a couple of times, and I spent a lot of time just figuring out this whole design piece of it. But that's what I actually love about it. This is what I love about garment construction. Since I never, took a bunch of classes on how to do garment construction, I took one community college class way back in the day, like many, many years ago, just to give you kind of the formal training that I've had. But I learn better just from doing, from taking things apart, from figuring it out. So I have my lining now attached at the top, and I'm just going to stitch all the way around the top, and that's going to encase this seam. So we won't have any seams in this garment. And then I need to figure out how to do the channel for my elastic. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do there, but I feel like once I get my lining on, then I can make that decision. So I just attached the lining, and then I did a top stitch all the way around. I still need to finish the hem, and well, hold that thought. We still need to finish the top though. So everything's done. And the last step here is going to be to figure out how I'm going to put my elastic in so that it will gather. Again, this is not a technique that I've ever done, but logically, it seems pretty straightforward. So what I'm thinking, because typically when I do elastic, I create the casing and then I weave the elastic through and call it a day. And then the last thing, after we get these gathers done, after we get this elastic put in, we need to do the hem. So I left the lining, actually you can see it's longer than the item, because what I thought I might do is create kind of a bias tape for the bottom. It gives us a little bit of length all the way around. It will tie the lining in, and since it does coordinate, right, then we just have this little band around it. Okay, so I decided to go with a casing because I found this thicker elastic, and I like the thicker look as opposed to the little teeny tiny. So what I did was I just did a casing, and then I seam picked both of the edges and then weaved it through. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge over here and I am going to edge stitch this closed, including the elastic. Oh, that looks so good. Okay, what I want to do now, before I go any further, I want to try this on before I finish it and just make sure that that is going to fit. Okay, y'all, we are almost done with this top, and it's a new day, so we have sunshine. So once I finish, I'll be able to style it and show you the whole look together so you can kind of see my vision for what I want. I did add this stripe at the bottom. So this is the lining, this is the inside of it. What I need to do now is actually finish the lining. So I'm just going to turn the edge over, stitch around to finish. I may make a couple of bows to put on it as well, because I have these little, these little scraps like this, which would make a really simple, if you've seen little bows, you just sew them in half, sew them like this, and then bring it together like this. It's like one of the easiest things to make, and I feel like it could look adorable, but it may be too adorable. I don't know. I have to try it on first and see how I'm feeling. Okay. She's done. I just tried to go out and record outside. It is 28 degrees. I even had a sweater on, and it was just too much. It was too cold. So I got a few shots, but I figured I would show you the finished top here. I am so pleased with how she turned out. I am going to adjust the straps just a little bit. I wanted to make sure I had enough wiggle room so I could wear it under like a turtleneck during the winter. So I did want it to be a little bit looser, but I'm realizing I think that I'll like it tighter. But anyway, here's the front, the sides, again, all the quilting, the elastic gather that I did in the back. I'm actually really pleased with that. That my vision came to life. I would make it, I think, a little bit tighter going forward, but it fits really nicely. And even if the straps fall down, the top is going to stay in place. So it's kind of like a tube top with straps. That's kind of the way that I'm thinking about this. And then again, the quilting on this side. But I'd love to know what your thoughts are on how this turned out. All right, so now I need your help deciding on my next project. I have all the scraps and I can do some quilting, but I want to do something that I will actually wear. Again, I don't want to make things just to make things. So I recently made, I'll show you here, this pair of pants, and I will tell you, I am so proud of them. It's a vintage pattern. I'll show you, so it's this vintage pattern right here. And it's a culotte, and I was able to find that fabric for $4 at Goodwill. And I had enough that I could do perfect pattern matching. So it was the first time I'd actually pattern matched a whole entire garment, and I'm really pleased. Also, they just fit perfectly. I've never had a pair of trousers that I made that I just love how they fit. And so that culotte style, I would like to make more. So this is on my to-do list, but I feel like I just finished this pair, so I have a couple of other options for you. So the other two patterns that I'm considering working on, so instead of drafting a pattern, I'm gonna play with these vintage patterns because they're so fun. So I have this option here to do a wrap skirt. So I would just do like this wrap skirt with a tie, possibly doing quilting on it, trying to use up some of those scraps. That's kind of my vision, is just quilt a bunch of these scraps together to make big enough fabric pieces so that we can create either this wrap skirt or the other option, this one right here, just this nice loose kind of trapeze dress with pockets. So two different options. Both of them I will customize and make my own. So let me know which one of those you would like to see me make next. So don't forget to like and subscribe and do all the things. It's been a great 2025, but it is time to move into the next year, and I'm excited to see where things take us. So Happy New Year, everybody, and until next time, see ya!